What is going on, y'all? Quick video today. Just wanted to discuss what I think are the best and worst AP classes that you can take during high school. Now, this is not going to be difficulty wise. I made a ranking the hardest AP class videos a while ago and it did really well. Instead, this is going to be looking at it through college credit and actual usefulness of the subject. Because you might not realize it, but some of the harder AP classes are actually not going to do very much for you in college in terms of getting you out of classes, even if you do well in the exam. So starting off with what I believe to be one of the most useful APs you can take, it's going to be AP Chemistry. And yes, this is the one that I said was the hardest AP I've ever took, and I still stand by that. But I'm putting it on this side of the list because of one main reason, and that is at most colleges, getting just a 3 or above on the AP Chemistry exam will get you out of the lab credit that you have to take. So in most colleges, you will have to take both a basic science credit and a lab credit that goes along with that. And most people, if you're not a science-related major, really struggle in those labs. They can be a lot of work, a lot of time. So by taking chem in high school, obviously you're doing labs as a part of it. And yeah, I mean, I didn't do too well in the exam. I got a 3, but I never had to take a lab here at UNC, nor any kind of basic science class. So I think it was worth the struggle. And also to take a lab credit in college, usually you have to take the class that it's associated with alongside it. You can't just take the lab. So even if you get just that basic science credit out of the way, you're probably going to take a science class regardless to take the lab. The next most useful AP to take is going to be any sort of foreign language AP. And that is because I'd say 90% of colleges require you to take multiple foreign language credits in college. So if you've gone through the basic high school language credits and you still feel like you want to learn more, take the AP for it. And if you get a 3 or in some schools a 4 on the exam, you're going to be completely placed out of foreign language in college, which is honestly a godsend because in my experience, college language classes are so much tougher than high school equivalents. Now I know it can take a lot to get to an AP foreign class in high school, so maybe don't do this if it's going to make your high school schedule really bad. But if you're trending in that direction anyway, I would highly recommend it. Colleges don't care about which foreign language you take because they offer basically every one of them. So whether you're in AP Spanish or AP Japanese, is that even a thing? Probably not. It shouldn't matter. It'll get you the credit either way. Next up, we've got AP Calc BC, not AB, BC. And that is because, obviously, since it is a whole new class, it gets you out of 1 extra credit than AB does. And usually that gets you out of not 1, but 2, sometimes even 3 introductory level math courses in college. And while this wouldn't be useful for everybody, most college majors, even ones that aren't fully related to math, do require a good amount of math courses within the majors. And also the other main reason I have it on this list is because it has one of the highest 5 rates of any exam. And if you've never heard that before, it's because it's massively curved. It's not the easiest exam, but it's just curved very heavily. I got a 5 on it. I don't think I deserved a 5, but yeah, if you get a 5, it'll almost certainly get you out of 3 credits, which is really good. And then you have the APs that are related to what you're majoring in college. Now, you might not know exactly what you want your major to be, but you probably have somewhat of an idea of the general field that it's going to be in. So if you want to major in math or stat, for example, then AP Stat will be a really useful one to get done early, not just so you have that base of knowledge, but because it's going to get you out of an introductory stat-specific course, so you can jump a little higher in your major in your first couple of years. Same thing goes if you're majoring in like geology or something environmental related, then AP Environmental might be useful. Psychology, AP Psych. Biology, AP Bio, etc., etc. It doesn't apply to every single one, so definitely check which college you want to go to and see what they knock out. But for the most part, definitely try to take the AP that most aligns with what you think your major is going to be at least. And if you don't end up choosing that major, then you might just have to take 1 extra class in college. It's not that big of a deal. A big one with this is AP Macro and Micro. That can get you out of the typical Econ 101 Intro to Econ class. And at most colleges, including mine, that's widely held as one of the toughest introductory classes. Definitely take those if your school offers it. My high school didn't. I definitely would have otherwise, but yeah. We're going to move into the other side, some of the least useful APs you can take. And the first is taking both AP Push and AP World. Unless you're like 100% sure you want to have a major that's somewhat related to social studies or history, or you're just really interested in both the subjects, then taking both of these is most likely not going to really do anything for you. At least 4 out of 5 of the colleges that I checked through, they give you the exact same credit. So it's usually like a history 100 credit. So even though you went through all of the effort to take both and maybe you did well on both the exams, only one of them is really going to count. So I would still recommend taking one of these if you can, but if you can avoid it, don't do both of them. And then the next least useful one I have, again, unless you're 100% sure you want to do this major, I'm actually going to put AP Physics 1 and AP Physics 2 on here. It's kind of the same deal, unless you go to Physics C, 1 and 2 are usually just going to get you out of the same intro to physics credit. And on top of that, this is, as I'm sure most of you know, one of the toughest AP exams to do well in. I think it has one of the lowest 5 rates. And overall, I never took this. I know plenty of people that did in high school, and all of them were suffering throughout it. So I think it's one of the best decisions I made not to take it, because it really wouldn't have done anything for me in college. It wouldn't have even gotten me out of a lab credit. So if you're not that interested in physics, don't feel like you have to take it, because it's probably not going to do much for you anyway. And then we have the hyper-specific ones like AP Art History, Music Theory, 2D Design. For those, I would recommend only taking one of them, but honestly, you don't really have to take any if you don't feel super interested in it. Basically, what it'll give you is, usually most colleges have some kind of general education credit that's related to arts or visuals or media or something like that, and it'll get you out of taking that class. But I found in college that there's such a variety of these courses that you can take that you're probably going to find one that's even more interesting than those APs, and it's probably not going to be as difficult. So like, I took photography in my freshman year, and it was a pretty fun class. I learned a lot, and it got me that same credit, which I would have gotten. So yeah, just do the research on that. See if there's a class that gives you that credit at the college you want to go to that is more interesting than any of those. But if like music theory, for example, is held as a really easy AP at your school and you're able to get into it, then I'd say it's worth doing. So real quick, if we look at what I got credit on during my time at UNC here, I took, I think, 9 APs. Only 5 gave me useful credits. Algebra up here, I think it's actually from pre-calc in high school. And then we have both of the calcs. I would have had to take one of them for my business minor if I had not placed out of it. And then we have Chem 101, the basic science credit that I got placed out of through AP Chem. And we have Chem 101 Lab, which is the lab corresponding to that I also got placed out by AP Chem, as I mentioned earlier. And Chem 101 at UNC is hell, as I've heard. And we have ENAC 202, which is another introductory level science class that I got out through environmental science, which was actually really useful because here at my school, you're required to take 2 basic science classes, so that's why I didn't have to take any. We have Poly 100 over here, which is a class I also would have had to take for my media and journalism major, which I got out through APUSH. World Regional Geography, which I got out through Human Geo, which didn't do anything for me. I wouldn't have needed that anyway, I don't think. We have General Psychology, which I got out through Psych, which also didn't really do anything because I already had 2 science credits from Chem and AP. If I didn't have one of those, or if I did bad on one of those exams, then this would have filled in for that. And then we have another one that APUSH actually knocked out, which is American History since 1865. Shout out to APUSH. Knocked out 2 credits, but I don't think that second one was actually useful in any way. So yeah, hope that helps. Give you a little bit of guidance. Take the APs you want to take, but make sure you're checking a little bit in the college that you want to go to and making sure it's actually going to give you a useful credit, because you don't want to go through an AP that you're suffering in, that you're spending so much time on just for it to not really do anything for you in the end. Even so, if you get a bad grade in it, it'll drop your GPA, so it's going to hurt more than it's going to help in the long run. So yeah, hope that helps. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you later. Peace out.